Hello, welcome to the Southern Bible Thumper channel. For this upload, we will be reading 2 Samuel 24. And again, the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he moved David against them to say, Go, number Israel and Judah. For the king said to Joab, the captain of the host, which was with him, Go now through all the tribes of Israel, from Dan even to Beersheba, and number ye the people, that I may know the number of the people. And Joab said unto the king, Now the Lord thy God add unto the people how many soever they be, an hundredfold, and that the eyes of my lord the king may see it. But why doth my lord the king delight in this thing? Notwithstanding, the king's word prevailed against Joab and against the captains of the host, and Joab and the captains of the host went out from the presence of the king to number the people of Israel. And they passed over Jordan and pitched in Aroer on the right side of the city that lieth in the midst of the river of Gad and towards Jazer. Then they came to Gilead and to the land of Tehibhoshi, and they came to Danjan and about to Zidon, and came to the stronghold of Tyre, and to all the cities of the Hivites and of the Canaanites, and they went out to the south of Judah, even to Beersheba. So when they had gone through all the land, they came to Jerusalem at the end of 9 months and 20 days. And Joab gave up the sum of the number of the people unto the king, and there were in Israel 800,000 valiant men that drew the sword, and the men of Judah were 500,000 men. And David's heart smote him after that he had numbered the people. And David said unto the Lord, I have sinned greatly in that I have done. And now I beseech thee, O Lord, take away the iniquity of thy servant, for I have done very foolishly. For when David was up in the morning, the word of the Lord came unto the prophet Gad, David's seer, saying, Go and say unto David, Thus saith the Lord, I offer thee 3 things. Choose thee one of them, that I may do it unto thee. So Gad came to David and told him, and said unto him, Shall 7 years of famine come unto thee in thy land? Or wilt thou flee 3 months before thine enemies, while they pursue thee? Or that there be 3 days pestilence in thy land? Now advise and see what answer I shall return to him that sent me. And David said unto Gad, I am in a great strait. Let us fall now into the hand of the Lord, for his mercies are great, and let me not fall into the hand of man. So the Lord sent a pestilence upon Israel from the morning even to the time appointed, and there died of the people from Dan even to Beersheba 70,000 men. And when the angel stretched out his hand upon Jerusalem to destroy it, the Lord repented him of the evil, and said to the angel that destroyed the people, It is enough. Stay now thine hand. And the angel of the Lord was by the threshing place of Araunah the Jebusite. And David spake unto the Lord when he saw that the angel that smote the people, and said, Lo, I have sinned, and I have done wickedly, but these sheep, what have they done? Let thine hand, I pray thee, be against me, and against my father's house. And Gad came that day to David, and said unto him, Go up, rear an altar unto the Lord in the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. And David, according to the saying of Gad, went up as the Lord commanded. And Araunah looked and saw the king and his servants coming on toward him. And Araunah went out and bowed himself before the king on his face upon the ground. And Araunah said, Wherefore is my lord the king come to his servant? And David said, To buy the threshing floor of thee, to build an altar unto the Lord, that the plague may be stayed from the people. And Araunah said unto David, I feel like I'm saying that wrong, but Araunah, Araunah, Verse 22. And Araunah said unto David, Let my lord the king take and offer up what seemeth good unto him. Behold, here be oxen for burnt sacrifice, and threshing instruments, and other instruments of the oxen for wood. All these things did Araunah as a king give unto the king. And Araunah said unto the king, The Lord thy God accept thee. And the king said unto Araunah, Nay, but I will surely buy it of thee at a price. Neither will I offer burnt offerings unto the Lord my God of that which doth cost me nothing. So David bought the threshing floor and the oxen for 50 shekels of silver. And David built there an altar unto the Lord, and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. So the Lord was entreated for the land, and the plague was stayed from Israel. In the previous chapter, 2 Samuel 23, David is nearing the end of his life. He is living out of a military base instead of a palace. David has a new prestigious team that closely assists him. The current chapter, 2 Samuel 24, God asks David to take a census. The results are evidence of a transgression that is not revealed. God gives David three choices and punishment. An angel wreaks havoc in Israel through a plague that takes 70,000 Israelite lives. David builds an altar to make sacrifices, which is pleasing to God. Okay, summarizing 2 Samuel 24. First, I'd like to say that this chapter did not reinforce my faith. It didn't make me feel comfortable. If anything, it's left me with a few questions, and it is just an uncomfortable thing to accept. But God does not owe us accountability. Our relationship with God is like a parent and child. A child doesn't live by the same rules that a parent gets to live by, and so if God wants to behave in a way that I don't understand, maybe it isn't for me to understand. And I am fine with having unanswered questions in my faith. I'm still secure just because some of the questions I don't, just because all my conditions aren't met, that don't mean I don't find solace and safety with God. That I don't honor Jesus Christ just because something I read made me feel a little bit uncomfortable. I'm not that weak. So, verse 1, God is angry. He asked David to take a census of Israel and Judah. Now, Judah is one of the 12 tribes of Israel, but what happened at the beginning of David moving to Judah? Judah is the only tribe that honored David as king when he first got there. Abner, who is King Saul's, the king who was before David, King Saul's war captain, Abner, influenced the other 11 tribes of Israel to put one of King Saul's sons, Ishbosheth, as king of the other 11 tribes of Israel. So, what this has done, there's now a split where in the first 7 years of David being king, he was only king of one tribe, whereas there's been all these other 11 tribes who didn't see themselves as under David's leadership. So, this is a much more complicated situation that David is dealing with, a much more complicated Israel. Saul, we don't hear about him having as many wives, as many women, and his kingdom. There were still people under David's leadership that were loyal to Saul. So, not saying, not making any conclusions, but I'm just presenting all the information. Saul didn't have them problems with all these women, but he was cowardly. He didn't experience this severe split. He didn't experience severe betrayal from his own son, but David did. Okay, so God is mad. He asks David to take a census. So David says to Joab, who is his army commander, which this was also interesting because when I was talking about 2 Samuel 19, Joab has been uh, David's loyal army commander. And when we get to chapter 19, this is after David's own son tries to, commit a hostile takeover to get Israel. Um, David's son ends up losing his life, and this is David's third son to die. So when we get here to 2 Samuel chapter 19, Joab, who is David's uh army commander, he tells David, like, it's not a good look for you to be out here crying like this. Number one, you already know the status of how Israel feels about you. Most of these people are not loyal to you like that. They don't see you as their leader. Secondly, the people that was on your side and helped you, they sacrificed their life. And we can't even celebrate the victory. You need to go around and speak to everyone, let people see you, address people. After that, we don't see David talking to Joab directly as often, referring to him. And even in the previous chapter, chapter 23, we see that David has some other helpers that were, these wonderful men, and Joab isn't mentioned. So now we have this unpleasant task we're going to get Joab, the one who's already been faithful. We know he's going to do it. So, okay, God tells David he wants him to take a census. David tells Joab, and Joab says, man, by the time we count everybody, these people will be multiplied 100 times over. Why do you want to do something like this? And David said, he overruled his rule, he insisted. So now we're going to get to verse 4 through 8. Joab travels for 9 months and 20 days to get the population. There's 800,000 men capable of war in Israel and all of the 11 tribes of Israel. There are 500,000 men in Judah ready for war. So in verse 9, they tell David their findings. And in verse 10, David's conscience troubled him. He tells God that he sinned greatly. So this is vague because in this chapter, the transgression is not mentioned. It's just like after the population was taken, there was some information that was revealed to David, but we don't know what that information is. We don't understand the significance of this. Now, maybe I'm reading it wrong. If I am, okay. But he was conscience stricken after he had numbered the people, and then he just says, I've sinned greatly. Take away your servant's guilt. I've done a foolish thing. But what did he do? All we can say is 500,000 men. You have about the same amount of men in the 11 tribes of Israel that are willing to go to war. I mean, 800,000 for 11 tribes, 500,000 from only one tribe. I'm not quite sure because the one tribe that David rules over, Judah, that's the one with 500,000 men ready for war. So for some reason, this is a sin, or there's some sort of sin that is transgression that's occurred that we don't know. Also, in the very beginning, God's anger was kindled. We don't know what that was either. Doesn't say. Maybe it will later. So, verse 10 is its own independent piece of information. David's conscience was affected. Okay. He repents for the sin that we don't know is a sin. Then we get from verse 11 to 14. In the morning, David's seer, another type of prophet, he tells David that the Lord is going to offer him 3 choices, 3 options. Choose one of them to be carried out against you. So, do you want 3 months of famine? Do you want 3 years of famine? Do you want to flee from your enemies for 3 months? Or do you want 3 days of plague in your land? All terrible choices. David says, I'm in deep distress. I can't make this decision. Please just make it for me. Or, let it fall into the hands of the Lord. I'm sorry. Let us fall into the hands of the Lord, not choose for me. Because he specifically says, don't let me fall into human hands. We get to from 15 to 17. God sends a plague. 70,000 men died. In verse 16, the angel stretched his hand to destroy Jerusalem. God commands the angel to stop. Enough, withdraw your hand. And this is another small question mark. So the angel was about to destroy Jerusalem. And then in the second part of verse 16, then the angel of the Lord was at the threshing floor. This sounds like a dream. Like sometimes you have a dream, maybe you're in one spot and then scene change and you're outside or you're in a different spot. That's exactly what this sounds like. Like the angel was at Jerusalem and then God said stop. He's in a different location. So this and then Samson's parents, those 2 incidents with angels, it does show us that they have some capabilities. documenting what their capabilities are. We know that they're more than human. One special thing about verse 17, David can see the angel and then he starts pleading to the Lord. I've sinned. So on that day, Gad tells David to make an altar to the Lord on Aruna's threshing floor. So that's the same place that we saw this angel in verse 16. So the angel went to this threshing floor in Aruna, and a threshing floor is a crop processing center. So you need to process your crops. That's what the threshing floor is for. When David goes to Aruna, because this is just a regular person. Aruna saw the king and the officials, and he bowed with his face to the ground and asked King David, "Why are you here?" Aruna offers David everything for free, but David insists on paying for what he uses in verse 24. So David built an offering, and God answered his prayer. The plague on Israel was stopped. It says here in the King James, the Lord was entreated for the land. Archaic variant of Dree. That's something too. Sometimes the spelling is different. For instance, because English comes from the UK, I think it's a Germanic language as well, but there's a lot of words in our uh like flavor, Flavour, what's something else? Because I used to see this when I was a child, and glamour is like that too. Blonde, Blonde. It used to have an E on the end. Now I'm noticing it's not anymore. Um, but sometimes certain spellings of words are considered archaic because that's not how it's spelled now. They just change the spelling. So that's why when I type this in, ain't nothing come up, and it says archaic variant of entreat, meaning it's a different spelling of this word. It's an archaic or an old used term, sort of like a older used term would be something like a how my grandparents used to say the commode. The commode is a toilet, but it's an old term that people don't use anymore, or it's not, you know. Okay, I think that's clear enough. So to entreat means to plead with or to ask urgently. And we look here, that's what David did, is to ask urgently for God to forgive him for whatever transgression was committed that was only evidenced after all of Israel was numbered. So that made me uncomfortable, that I don't know what God was angry about at the beginning. I don't know what transgression was made. I don't know why there were three options to give David, like a game. It just was all very uncomfortable. But we got through it. This is the last chapter of Second Samuel, and we're going to be going into the book of Kings. So far, we've had three kings. First Samuel chapter 8. This is when Israel demands kings. In Judges chapter 1, Israel didn't have any leadership. They went directly to God. But because they kept disobeying, God had to provide them judges. By the time we get to First Samuel, the Israelites have been corrupted by the cultures around them, and now they want to be like them by having the type of leadership that they have. Our first king was Abimelech. That was in the book of Judges, Judges chapter 9. Gideon's son. The second king we had is Saul. Saul was anointed by the last judge, Samuel. Now we have David, King 3. David's also doing the end of his life. To stave off these sneezes, and my nose is a bit running. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. Yeah, Lord. Yeah, God. Yeah, God. Yeah. I love you. Have a wonderful day.